Can any of you guess the damage that was caused to my newly purchased lathe, which is not this one? This is my own lathe that I had been offering for sale, but I'm retracting the offer because when I took a closer look at the bed of the shorter bed of the 10-inch Atlas lathe that has the quick change gearbox, which is the reason that I purchased it, significant damage right here and right here. And where do you think that comes from? It comes from people removing chucks without protecting them with an old breadboard or something like that. If you look at the general condition of the two items, the existing item with the Schar's keyless chuck, or the newly purchased item, which is no chuck at all, but I'm taking care of that tomorrow with a different new one. But look at the paint condition, look at the hand crank condition. Wow, it clears, that's interesting. I could double team this puppy. And yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm now removing the existing 3-jaw chuck, which I just threw on there because that's what I was willing to sell it with, retaining for my own purposes the 4-jaw chuck that, though functional, was relatively small in the scale of things, although I've used it successfully quite a bit as I've been learning my metalworking skills and machining skills. But today, when I was at the location of the seller of the new one, we made an arrangement on a different 4-jaw chuck, which is substantially more impressive. And this is not the most impressive of the chucks that were available for sale at her home. And we have reached an agreement where I will be representing her to sell these machining parts, because that's essentially what they are becoming. But she has the trifecta. She has the milling machine, the shaper, and the lathe. And I have the lathe, and I would want a milling machine and a shaper. The shaper is present. The milling machine, which is kind of my personal holy grail, is in Idaho at her son's. And he's knowledgeable enough to know that the higher end tooling that was left on his father's death. So he's reserved for himself the quick change gearbox, for instance, which I also am fortunate enough to own, but I swapped it out for the original tooling, which, when you think about it, is highly useful. And I should learn to use it properly in the same way as I should have learned to weld with oxyacetylene torches before I ever picked up a MIG welder. These are the gears from what is now known to be a second lathe that he cannibalized the quick change gearbox that is mounted on his cannibalized version, and I now wish to take all the parts, put together a fine piece of machinery with all the practical enhancements that I can fit onto it, up to and including the digital readout. When I mount the new one further to the front of the table, I already moved most of the rest of the tools back a bit so I'd have some working room, and if I do that, I'll have a digital readout giving me the x-axis at least, and Why? Well, we'll worry about the y-axis at some other point. Anyway, enough rambling. That's what's happening around the shop. Thanks.